Hello, Colorado Realtors. I'm Scott Peterson. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Legal Bites. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about referral fees. And this is the topic that I get so much confusion over. I have questions from experienced brokers, new brokers, just a lot of confusion related to referral fees, when they can be paid, what can be paid, how they're paid, so on and so forth. So I wanted to put this topic in here because I know that there's a lot of confusion. And a lot of the confusion is related to the fact that there is very candidly a pretty ambiguous conflict of laws when it comes to referral fees. And I'll talk in just a second about how that's going to be addressed, I believe, in the next legislative session. But just real quickly, currently Colorado, in the Colorado Revised Statute, CRS 1261-2035, which is what controls this, it almost is written in a sense that it appears to allow referral fees in the state as long as the person that's receiving the referral fee isn't performing any brokerage functions. And that's just not really a clear statement from my perspective, and it's really a direct conflict with what federal law says about it. And so federal law on this matter is governed by RESPA. And RESPA is very clear and very unambiguous when it comes to how RESPA feels about the payment of referral fees. And they basically say there can be nothing of value that is given, anything of value that is given to an unlicensed person for the referral of a settlement service, which is a real estate transaction. Okay, so if they're not licensed, they can't receive anything under RESPA, and it's a pretty clear statement versus the Colorado statute, which creates, I think, a bit of some disparity for brokers. And so RESPA wins, folks, and that's the takeaway there. And so what we want to rely on is RESPA. The good news is, as part of the sunset recommendations that our division of real estate just finished up with every 10 years it gets a sunset review. And those sunset recommendations were just completed back on October 15th, and they're going to be presented to the state legislature. And one of the recommendations that the policy analyst from the Division of Regulatory Agencies made was to clear up this language in our Colorado statute as it relates to when and how a referral fee can get paid, to bring it into better line with RESPA. Because if you're violating RESPA, you're potentially running into some peril. And so we want to make sure that we're consistent. So hopefully this will change, and that'll help eliminate some of the confusion, because I get a lot of people that call me and say, well, as long as whoever I'm giving a referral fee to doesn't actually perform any brokerage functions, it's okay, right? And that's not really the case. All right, so let's talk about when it is okay. Pretty limited and pretty easy to understand. You can pay another licensed broker a referral fee for sending you over a deal, for closing a transaction. You're allowed to pay another person if they're licensed in the state of Colorado, certainly, or if they're licensed outside of the state of Colorado. So if they're a licensee or a realtor in Alabama or California or New York or Florida, pick it, any other state if they're licensed, or any other international jurisdiction if they're licensed, or if the country that they're in, and there are some countries that don't require licensure to perform brokerage functions, then you can pay them if they're not licensed, if they're in a state, or if they're in a country, I should say, where they can perform brokerage functions without a license. But every state in our United States of America requires a license to perform brokerage functions. So if a licensee, or if somebody is licensed in a different state and they refer you a transaction here in Colorado, you complete it, you can certainly pay them a referral fee. There's no RESPA violation, there's no problems with any of that. And if they're licensed in the state, obviously you can pay them a referral fee. The other folks that can participate in real estate transaction fees or in commissions is a party to a transaction. Okay? Because if you're a party to a transaction, if you're a buyer or a seller, you don't need a license to perform brokerage functions on your own behalf. You only need a license to perform brokerage functions for third parties. So since a buyer or a seller who is a party to a transaction is legally allowed to perform brokerage functions on their own behalf without a license, then they can also receive a referral fee. We'd call them, in that case, maybe it's a business gift or a rebate that you would give back to a client as a thank you gift, maybe in some cases a referral fee. The hiccup there is almost always going to be that a buyer is very rarely going to be allowed to walk away from a closing table with cash in hand if they're getting a loan. A lender's almost never going to allow that. They might allow it up to closing cost or a credit to closing cost, that kind of thing. But by and large, a lender's not going to say, hey, a buyer can take a referral fee back and walk away from the closing table so they can go buy, furniture or drapes or a new car or whatever. Lenders don't like that, generally speaking. So that's not going to happen. But a seller, can participate in the fee. So a party to a transaction or another licensee. And that's basically when a referral fee is okay. Other than that, it's really not. So anybody else? No, you can't. Nothing of value to an unlicensed person for a referral of settlement services. You can't do it. It's a RESPA violation. And again, our state statute, when it comes to licensing law, they're going to clean that up as well within the next legislative session. That's going to be cleaned up. So it's going to become in conformance with RESPA. RESPA says no. The answer is no. Very clear. Don't get tripped up. Don't do it. That's the best practice. This is the easiest best practice I'll ever give you. Don't pay referral fees to unlicensed people, period, unless they're a party to a transaction. Okay? It's a RESPA violation, and I'm reminding people now, RESPA used to be overseen and enforced by HUD. HUD was a big friendly teddy bear compared to who now oversees RESPA enforcement, and that's the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They leverage big fines against people. So be very, very cautious of doing anything that violates RESPA, because at the federal level, your regulator really is the CFPB, and they're a tough organization. So anyhow, as always, if you have questions about this or other issues, Legal Hotline is always available 9 to 12, 1 to 4, Monday through Friday. Fantastic resource for you, and a great benefit of membership. So I'd encourage you to get with your managing brokers, or if you're an independent broker, to utilize the Legal Hotline for any questions related to referral fees or anything else. Happy holidays, and thanks for joining us for another edition of Legal Bites.